Welcome to the Advanced Tag Layout tutorial. If you haven't already, please watch the basic tag layout tutorial before proceeding. This video assumes that you have watched and are familiar with all the concepts introduced in the basic tutorial. This tutorial covers alternate layout possibilities, getting custom data on the tag, using the prefix and postfix fields, and using two different types of tags simultaneously. We'll start by exploring some alternative layout possibilities. Remember in the basic tutorial, I showed you how each field on the tag was encased in its own box, and that you could click and drag these boxes to manipulate the tag layout. Now in that tutorial, I limited the customization to just adding another line to the tag. But there's so much more you can do. Don't think of this tag in the conventional terms of lines. Think of it as a blank slate. Because you can resize each box any way that you want, it doesn't have to be lines at all. Maybe I decide for this particular category that I don't need all these details on the right, but what I do need is my item description. So we'll get rid of everything on the right and create a new box. We'll then resize this box to take up the entire right-hand side of the tag. And then we're going to set the data to description. For good measure, I'll type in a sample description so we can get an idea of what it's going to look like. From here, I could further customize this by visiting the font button and changing the size and type of the font used. Maybe I want something smaller so I can fit more of the description. Or maybe all the descriptions for these items are short and I want something big and bold. Well, that was easy enough, but let's look at something a little fancier now. Here I've got my default layout for the left-hand side of this tag, but a custom layout on the right-hand side. On the top, we've got the Edge default cost code. Then, going vertically, we have the vendor abbreviation. Beneath the cost code, we have three boxes that give the center stone type, the weight, and the clarity. Then there's three boxes below that give the same details for the side stone. And finally, at the very bottom, we have the vendor style. See, these boxes can be arranged and resized any way that you want. You don't have to think of them as lines at all. You want the tags to be as useful as possible, and so you should customize the layouts to fulfill the needs for each category. Remember too that there are lots of tag options beyond the dumbbell default. Take a look through the media choices. Different tags give you more room to put information. The only stipulation here is that the tag printer has to be calibrated to use the type of tag it's loaded with. This makes switching tag types in a single tag printer impractical. However, the Edge does support the use of two tag printers loaded with two different types of tags. That's covered at the end of this tutorial. Hopefully your eyes have been opened to the layout possibilities. So let's now enlighten you on the data possibilities. Think back to the basic tutorial. What displays in each box on the tag is controlled by the data dropdown. There's a ton of choices there for our default item details. But what about getting custom information on the tag? There's two ways to do this. The difference between the two methods is whether you want the custom information to be static or dynamic. Don't worry if that sounds intimidating, let me explain. By static, I mean that the information gets entered once here and prints consistently on all tags for the category. So maybe for this category, I want to print the words hot diamonds on every tag. To do so, I would create a new box, leave the data set to none, and in the prefix field, I'm going to type in hot diamonds. Now every tag I print for items in this category will have the words hot diamonds in this spot on the tag. Some people might find this useful, but by and far most people will want the custom information to be dynamic. All this means that the information comes from the item, so it can vary from one item to the next. There are two steps to doing this. First, we must add a new custom detail to the category, and then we must tell the Edge to print that custom detail on the tag. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm not going to go in depth on adding custom details. See our separate category details tutorial for more information on custom details. So, I add a new detail on the Details tab of the category. I'm going to call it Weight. I will use this to store the gold weight for these items. Now I come back to the Tags tab and add a new box. In my data dropdown, I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom of the choices. Custom details that you create will always appear at the end of this list, which makes them pretty easy to find. Here you'll see my field, weight. Remember to always look at the bottom of this list. If your custom detail has the same or a similar name to one of our default data choices, it's easy to get confused and choose the wrong one. Now that I've chosen weight, whatever is entered into the weight detail field I created for each item will now print on the tag. You can add multiple custom data fields to an item, and any custom detail can be printed on the tag. So we have the weight, but right now it's just a number. What if we wanted to label it? That's where the prefix and postfix fields come into play. These fields give you a place to put information that you want to print before, as in prefix, or after, as in postfix, the displayed data. Here I have gold weight in grams, so I'll want to print the word grams after each weight. To do so, I would type the word grams into the postfix field for this box. That way, it will display my data followed by the word grams. For a cleaner look, start the postfix with a space so that there's room between the weight and the word grams. Prefix works the same way, but would come before the data. Then there's the format field. This controls how the data will be displayed. Leave this blank to display the data exactly as it was entered. Otherwise, choose a format to have your data displayed like that. For example, maybe I want my gram weights rounded to the nearest hundredth. I would choose the format 9.99 for the box containing the weight. The format field is also useful for controlling how prices are displayed. Maybe you want the dollar sign, maybe you don't, stuff like that. We've covered all the advanced ways to set up your tags. The last thing we have to talk about is using two different types of tags simultaneously. To do so, you're going to need two tag printers. Remember that this is because changing tag types requires the printer to be recalibrated, so using one printer and trying to constantly switch what type of tag is loaded is not a practical solution. If you want to pursue this, the first thing you're going to want to do is decide upon which two types of tags you want to use. Next, you should hook up the second tag printer. When you set this up in the Edge configuration, be sure to put it in the Tag Printer 2 settings area. Notice that you will need to type in the tag media you're using for this printer. You need to type in the name of the media exactly as it appears in the media drop-down list. Once your second tag printer is set up, your next step is customizing your tags per category, deciding which categories will use which tag. Because you provided the type of tag being used by the second printer, the Edge will know to automatically queue print requests for that type of tag to tag printer number 2, and vice versa for tag printer number 1 and its style of tags. This ensures that the wrong type of tag will never get sent to the wrong tag printer. For more help, please contact our technical support department. It would be best to give them at least a day's notice and schedule an appointment, especially if you need help with both hooking up and setting up the printer and configuring the Edge to use two different types of tags. This concludes the advanced tag layout tutorial. Remember, the tag is a blank slate upon which you can arrange your boxes and the data therein in any way you want.